Alrighty, and so we are going to get started. Hello and welcome to the National Museum of Women in the Arts virtual reopening celebration. It's been a long couple of weeks, but we've got here. The museum is open. We're excited and we're so glad to be able to celebrate with you virtually. I'm Gabby Awuma. I'm the Senior Membership Manager here at NMWA, and I celebrated my 1-year anniversary yesterday at NMWA. So yay, I survived reopening and very, very happy about that. I'm so glad you all could join us to celebrate the new NMWA, whether even if it's virtual. I hope some of you have been able to stop into the museum to see all the new exciting offerings we have. But if not, we are going to look into all of that today with some of our lovely, lovely colleagues. We have a really great program for you tonight. It should be really informative, a lot of behind the scenes photos, possibly some good stories from our presenters. But yeah, it's going to be great. But first, to get started, I just want to thank all of you who are here today with us, joining from wherever you're joining from. But our dedicated members and donors, thank you for being with us, sticking with us through the closure and the renovation project. We couldn't have done any of this without you. It's so amazing to have such a dedicated and thoughtful and committed membership and donor base. Many of you have been with us for many years, many decades. Some of you are very new, and we're just happy to have all of you here. And so, again, just thank you for your commitment to NMWA. We just could not do this important work without you. And so if you read your invitation, there was a call to bring something bubbly or fizzy. I brought a little club soda, but I will think it's time to do a nice little toast to all of you. So if you would like, raise your glass. And so I want to say cheers to the new NMWA, to our dedicated members and donors, and to our vibrant future. Thank you for being a part of our story. So cheers. Okay, so now that we got through all of that, and I feel like you're probably more excited to hear from the lovely guests that we have today. So, in case you didn't know where we are, this is where we are. Our presenters today. First up, we have our director, Susan Fisher-Sterling, to speak with us. And we also have our deputy director and chief curator, Katie Watt, speaking with us and presenting to us as well. But let's first, I'm going to hand things over to Susan. Take it away.
Thank you, Gabby, and thank you to the entire membership staff for helping with this, as well as to Emma Filar and Gretchen Ortega, as well as Gabby, for helping me with my remarks today. It's nice to have a group of dedicated staff on hand to be able to show you the new NMWA. And I finally get to take this hat off, this construction hat off, for the first time since 2021. Many of you have obviously seen the photos of the museum over the last 2 years with the scaffolding, with the shrouds on it of fabric, and also seeing it enlivened by our great works of art that we showed on the side of the building while NMWA was closed. But I'm happy to have this photograph taken by John Manarino, who is our head of communications and marketing, Amy Manarino's husband, to show you that indeed the museum is now revealed. It is beautifully cleaned on the exterior with great new signage that announces our reopening, and we are so glad that the scaffolding is down, that the construction workers are out of the building, and that you are coming in. May I have the next slide, please? So after the really 2.5 long years, and also the pandemic, which obviously sent a lot of us indoors, I am thrilled to see visitors walking through the galleries, and really being involved with the art again. You can see this is, Katie will talk about one of these works later, but it's just great to see people in the galleries enjoying the art and participating along with the art. The last few weeks, especially October 16 through 21, was action-packed, and it was full of celebratory moments. And so I'm delighted to share some of that with you this evening. Gabby, if I could have the next. In the lead up to the reopening, we were honored to host First Lady Jill Biden, who spoke at our first gathering for supporters and friends. Dr. Biden is a longtime admirer of the museum. She actually opened our New York Avenue Sculpture Project in 2010, and she gave an impassioned speech saying, among other things, quote, "When women artists have a place to show their work, when they are recognized for it, the world begins to value them differently too, to listen to what they have to say." And I can't wait to share more of what Dr. Biden had to say that evening with you on our website soon. We just have to get clearance from the White House. Next, please. On October 21st, our grand reopening day, DC-based poet Alexa Patrick performed a new work which we commissioned that was inspired by the museum at our ribbon cutting ceremony. She honored in her poem the women whose arts are on our walls, exclaiming, "Thank you, Fede, Galizia. Thank you, Alice, Neil. Thank you, Nikki, Sanfal. Thank you, Frida, Kahlo. Thank you, Shakaya, Booker. Thank you, Amy, Sherald, and Georgia O'Keefe, and Allison Sarr, and the Guerrilla Girls, and for carrying our culture, giving us bricks to build resistance, revolution, renaissance." It was actually thrilling, and Alexa has just published her first book of poetry, which we hope to carry in the shop. Next slide, please. We also were grateful that morning for the presence of DC Mayor Muriel Bowser. You can see her in the green suit to the I guess it would be on your left. And in her remarks, Mayor Bowser spoke about the museum's enduring importance to the city as a beacon of cultural and social change. She was joined by event chair Gina Adams, our board chair Winnan Holiday, board president Susan Goldberg, and also Larry Dorita from Bank of America, who helped to fund our first several days of free admission. And they officially cut the ribbon and invited the public into the building. I think Mayor Bowser and Gina really understand the notion of a ribbon cutting as a photo moment. The rest of us were a little too intent on our task. Next, please. After that, the museum was officially open. I was excited to be outside. It was a little windy, but it was great to greet our first visitors as they waited to enter. Here you see me with Vanessa Elliott. She is the Maritime Program Manager for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Only in Washington would this moment happen, but we were so grateful for all the visitors who stood outside and waited to come in. It was truly wonderful to meet so many of them at this exciting moment in our history. Next, please. Here's our newly revamped Great Hall. As we were getting ready to welcome our first visitors, I really can't wait for you to experience it for yourself. It feels so fresh and open, so free, and shows the artwork off so beautifully now. And I just want all of you to see it, and if you can, to come and see it. Next slide, please. We had lots of entertainment as well as special projects that people could do who were coming in for opening day. We had Les the DJ and Boom Scat enlivening the Great Hall with their music. Pictured here are the members of Boom Scat. On the right is Asha, the Boom, and on the, did I say on the right is Asha, the Boom, and on the left is Patience, the Scat. Next, please. Ars Poetica wrote personalized on-the-spot poems for visitors in our revamped library and research center. And behind them, you'll see Dominique, who's a new member of our staff. She's our new archivist. Next, please. And throughout the afternoon, we hosted spotlight conversations in the galleries. Here you see Katie Watt in her t-shirt, which I know everybody wants one of, which are for sale in the shop, by the way. And we had these spotlight conversations in the galleries as people looked at new works from the collection and also saw old favorites, as well as our special exhibition, which is where Katie's speaking right now. And you'll hear lots more about that from Katie, about this installation and others. Next, please. We had a really great setup also in our library, in our new flexible studio and classroom. We have never had a classroom like this before. Some of you may remember, if you ever volunteered for us or were in a particular bookbinding session or something, that we oftentimes would cart water onto the performance hall stage or do arts work in the Great Hall. And now we have this dedicated classroom. In this case, on this day, visitors colored postcards that were custom designed by artist Amy Wyke, and they designed buttons inspired by the museum's collection. This was the first of many, many art-making moments in this space. The space is also flexible and can be used for all kinds of lectures, small rehearsals, and we are looking forward to using this also for partnership events with other groups across the DMV. Next, please. Vendors for the day provided samples and tastings of their women-created wares and food. One of my favorite activities of the day to watch, I actually didn't get one, was flash tattooing by artist Bibi Abele. Bibi created a new selection of fine line tattoos, which are her signature, and these were inspired by NMWA's collection. She was fully booked within the first hour she started to work, and I find it touching that so many people wanted to permanently commemorate their visit through a tattoo related to NMWA. Don't worry, for children and adults who are somewhat more squeamish, perhaps, we had plenty of temporary tattoos on hand too, and they were very, very popular. Next, please. To close out this wonderful day, we had the brilliant performers from Batala, Washington. They filled the Great Hall with their rousing drum beats and their incredible outfits. I can't really think of a better way to cap off such a festive and joyous moment for NMWA. I am thankful for the time and talent of all the creatives who helped make the day such a success. Next slide, please. And I want to share especially heartfelt thanks to everyone who brought this entire project to life and to its fitting conclusion. The supporters and friends like you, the architects and engineers, construction and installation crews, and the great NMWA staff who worked around the clock to prepare for this grand reopening. And to the friends of the museum and those of you who haven't made the trip yet, you can see we are ready for you and so excited for you to experience the new NMWA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. It was a really great presentation. Righty. And so up next, we have the lovely Katie Watt, our Deputy Director and Chief Curator, to share a bit more about our gallery, special exhibitions, and some fun changes that have happened since we closed and now are open.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our virtual reopening celebration. Have you been envisioning what's in the gallery since NMWA reopened its doors to the public almost 2 weeks ago now? It's my pleasure to share the scoop this evening. I'm going to take you from top to bottom and all around the galleries, starting on the ground floor. And to refamiliarize all of you who've been here, or to orient those of you who haven't been here yet, here is an aerial cutaway of the museum at street level. The yellow asterisk that I've drawn at the top of this image marks the doors through which visitors enter the museum once they pass through the lobby and pass the ticket desk. And that is big news. We actually have a lobby and a ticket desk now, which you can see in the inset picture here. And through those bronze doors to the right is the rotunda area, which I've circled here in yellow. Previously, the rotunda had an information desk, it had some signage. What we didn't have much of there was art. And we want every person who comes through those doors to know not only that we are an art museum, but what our mission is as well. To that end, we installed showstoppers in the rotunda. In the center of the space, floating above all of us, is Portuguese artist Joana Vasconcelos's red chandelier. It's always fun to be featured in Washingtonian magazine. I was joking with Gabby yesterday that it's kind of Washington's Vanity Fair, if you will. We were so delighted to welcome their team when they came to the museum in September to watch us install the work. So they took this picture looking straight up. It's almost as if the photographer were laying on their back on the floor and looking up into the rotunda. And you see my colleague, Greg Angelone, our chief preparator, up in a crane, getting some plastic off of the outside of the work that's protecting it. Vasconcelos's chandelier features about 200 twinkling LED lights. It's made from Murano glass, crocheted wool, sequins, and fringe, which you can see there. And then on the right, on the rotunda walls below it, and as I say, you can see in the image on the right, are paintings by artists from Australia and from the US. So just with 3 works and in the rotunda, we clarify immediately for visitors that the museum is global in focus and that its rich collection spans all mediums, including sequins and fringe, and I totally approve. Here is a closer view of 2 stunning paintings in the rotunda. Audrey Morton and Ware is part of the Aryawara indigenous community in Australia. And Clementine Hunter was a self-taught artist who lived and worked in rural Louisiana. Within the rotunda too are another set of doors leading into the Teresa Lozano Long Gallery circled here in yellow. And the Long Gallery is presently a film screening space. In focus, Artists at Work features brand new short films about NMWA collection artists. These films are up close and personal moments. So it's artists working in their studios, having meals with their family and friends, and each artist very graciously reflected on their connection to NMWA as well. I think this is a rendering, but honestly, it looks exactly like this in real life. The gallery offers this cozy kind of cocooning experience as you're surrounded by 3 screens and the voices of the artists as they tell you their story. And here we see a snippet from the film about Texas-based artist Delita Martin. The first 4 artists featured in this film project are Delita Martin, Rania Matar, the Gorilla Girls, and Allison Sarr. And all of the films make me tear up except for the Gorilla Girls, which makes me laugh out loud. And next summer, we're going to show another 4 films about 4 different artists. I wanted to let you know that if you aren't able to come to the museum soon, all 8 films in this project are available to view right now on NMWA's website. So we invite you to take a look. So after all that excitement right off the bat in NMWA's new rotunda, visitors can either use the elevator or ascend the grand staircase, which I've highlighted here in yellow, to reach the mezzanine level. And you saw the mezzanine balustrade in some of the images that Susan shared. And this is kind of a cruddy and crooked shot from my cell phone that I took this week. But I wanted to show you the new colorway in the space, in the Great Hall space in the mezzanines. It's this soft gray, which really makes the gilding glow and stand out. And the ceilings are a beautiful pale blue. And on the mezzanine, we have lovely framing arches for art along the north wall. So similar to the rotunda, we are using those niches to exemplify the range of the museum's collection and programming. And so very quickly, and I'm sorry for the quality of the images along the bottom, I'll show you something better in just a second, but from left to right on that wall are a portrait by Eva Gonzalez, a photograph of artist Louise Bourgeois by artist Michel Maty, our Frida Kahlo self-portrait, of course, a portrait of a young South African couple by photographer Zanele Mohole, a close-up portrait by Angele Utunde Samba, and an 18th century portrait by French artist Adèle Romani. So in the space of 6 works, that's 3 portraits by women artists, 3 portraits of women artists by women artists, 3 centuries, 3 continents. This is the essence of NMWA from its beginnings in 1987. We're continuing on. And here, as promised, is a close-up of the Gonzalez portrait. This is a new acquisition to the museum's collection. We did an informal tally, and I think it's about 40% of the artworks that are on view right now have never been exhibited at the museum previously. This stunning portrait is one of them. As I mentioned, Gonzalez was a French artist who studied with Edouard Manet. She died at the age of 33, and as you can see, the world lost an incredible painter far too soon. Also brand new to the collection is this photograph by Angele Utunde Samba, who was born in Cameroon, studied in Paris, and is presently based in Amsterdam. Her imagery presents Black women in charge of their own narrative. And this image of Asamba's photograph, shot from another angle on the mezzanine, has been fire on social media since the reopening, and for good reason. It is absolutely breathtaking. All right, so now I'm going to zoom you upstairs to the museum's restyled 3rd floor, where we are presenting selections from the museum's collection in a project called Remix, because I am clearly stuck in the 1990s. But since 2017, the museum has shown its collection thematically, placing historical and contemporary works side by side. So again, a cutaway of Remix's spaces. This is the 3rd floor. Our architect, Sandra Vicchio, worked with NMWA staff to open up the gallery spaces. So previously we had what's known as the parlor model. That is, you have a contained kind of boxy gallery with small doorways that lead you into more boxy galleries. But now we have a much more open plan that has long vistas, but also kind of intimate, cozy spots to tuck into. Here you see the niche on the left and then the center niche. Both of these focus on photography. They're adjacent to the space on the right, which is about textile art. So there's this wonderful kind of open flow through from theme to theme. There's also this really cool triangle-shaped gallery devoted to still life. And you sort of feel as though you're inside a jewel box. And I think those sapphire blue walls really amplify that sensation. If you're interested, that's Sherwin-Williams Honorable Blue. We love it. In that same gallery is a brand new digital interactive, a touch table that features information about collection works, but that also poses questions for visitors to answer, to share their viewpoints. And when the kiosk was installed several weeks ago, there was literally a line of NMWA staff members waiting to try it out. It is a lot of fun. The collection galleries feature 9 different themes. These are all brand new for us, including Heavyweight, which focuses on artists who embrace a big, bold aesthetic. And I'm showing you an image here of that theme installed in our annex gallery, which has 22 foot high. And I hope you can see in this image, gorgeously coved ceiling. It's absolutely breathtaking. That's the view in the Heavyweight gallery looking north. But if you spin around and look south, you will see this view, which includes another new accession, a sculpture by Deborah Butterfield. I kind of love that those two folks look a tiny bit afraid of that larger than life horse. And we also see Chikai Booker's beautiful acid rain behind it. Susan mentioned Chikai Booker earlier. So this is a closer look at another angle for the new Butterfield sculpture. It is made entirely of bronze. It looks for all the world like driftwood, I know, and it is cast from pieces of driftwood, but everything you're seeing is bronze. Another view of the collection galleries, and this one really shows those long vistas that Sandra and her team created. So right up front, as you enter the 3rd floor from the elevators, is this astonishing marble sculpture, a work by French artist Niki de Saint-Phal. This is one of her famous Nana figures. Now, because you are members, I wanted to share a behind-the-scenes tidbit. We estimate that this sculpture weighs about 2,500 pounds. So we needed to work with a rigger to place it. And if you're not familiar with that term, a rigger is a person who specializes in handling difficult to move objects. And so our rigger used a gantry, that's that sort of metal framework there, and a team of 5 art handlers to lift the sculpture up out of its crate and then place it dead center on that base. The process, as you might imagine, is very painstaking, it's time consuming, and it is very, very stressful. When you see more than a ton of precious art go airborne, it is a fairly nauseating feeling. In fact, when I looked at this picture, I noticed my colleague, NMWA's registrar, Catherine Bade, scuttling away from the scene in terror. And frankly, I was right behind her. It was totally unnerving. One of the most transformative aspects of the museum's renovation project overall is the creation of the Gloria and Dan Logan Learning Commons on the museum's 4th floor, which includes the Mary Ross Taylor galleries highlighted here in white, blue, and yellow. You're going to hear more about the Learning Commons in a presentation that I believe is planned for you in December, but I just wanted to share a little bit about the new gallery spaces that are here. The North Gallery on the 4th floor features an exhibition of artist books about NMWA and about its mission to advocate for creative women. Artists Suzanne Coley and Adjoa Burrows are just 2 of the 9 artists who were commissioned to create brand new artist books that are now part of NMWA's renowned artist book collection. The Central Gallery on 4 presents a focus exhibition on Hung Lu, who sadly passed away not very long ago. The project features large-scale paintings, including these 2 works based on the seasons, being shown for the very first time. And prints, here's an installation shot. You see the prints on the left. These are cherished parts of the museum's collection. There is also this exciting promised gift to the museum on the right from a private collection, a painting titled Corn Carrier that just pops on that blue wall. And in the South Gallery on 4, we are showing a frieze of 26 engravings depicting the procession of one of the Holy Roman Emperors, images made in 1675 by French artist Antoinette Bouzenet-Stella. Bouzenet-Stella lived and worked at the Louvre alongside her uncle, who was also her teacher. Oh, wait a minute. Did I accidentally drop an image of one of the galleries at the Met in my PowerPoint? No, I did not. These are the Bouzenet-Stella galleries looking so, so good in the beautiful new NMWA. And I'm going to close this evening with a peek at the museum's special exhibition galleries on the 2nd floor. Again, as you can see, a completely new gallery layout by our architect, Sandra Vicchio, with long sight lines and intimate spaces for sort of tucking in and getting up close to works of art. Many of the structural changes that Sandra made to the museum's galleries were to help us better accommodate larger, heavier works, including sculpture. And so for our inaugural special exhibition, we were presenting The Sky's the Limit, which features 13 artists who work on large-scale sculpture. I want you to know that women artists are still under-recognized forces in immersive sculpture, and this has been the case since just after the Second World War. NMWA accessioned this Cornelia Parker sculpture several years ago. She's a UK-based artist, and you can see that it's composed of silver-plated pieces, flatware, cups, trophies, relish trays that have been flattened and then suspended from the ceiling by fine wires. These photos are the only thing that we really knew. These came from Parker's gallery when we acquired the work a couple of years ago, and they were the only thing we really knew about the work until we opened the crate just a few weeks ago. And another behind the scenes tidbit just for you, our members, is that this thing is a bear to install. It involves building a little table 5 inches above the floor to be sure that you have each piece hanging precisely right. This is Bruce up on the scaffolding and Dave working down below, both of them ticked off at this moment, both of them not wanting me to come at them with my phone to take a picture, but I did want to share with you how carefully and precisely this work has to be installed. And in The Sky's the Limit, we gave Parker's work sort of the silvery gray world. It's so much more appealing than the yellow hardwood floor in those old pictures. And do note, please, the wild reflections on our gallery walls. And a little secret, if you are able to come, if you sort of kind of walk around this with a little bit of speed, being very careful, of course, not to touch it, the works will sort of shimmy on their wires. So it is quite exciting to be around. Beatriz Mayazes is a Brazilian artist, best known for her vibrant paintings, but in recent years, she's branched out into sculpture. And I find that immersive sculpture often involves unconventional materials. So as you can see in the detail, this hanging work is made from aluminum and brass and acrylic and wood and silk flowers. And again, these are her studio's images. And here is the work installed at NMWA in The Sky's the Limit. As bright and bubbly as it looks, this sculpture weighs 400 150 pounds. It's another heavyweight. And again, the structural changes to our galleries allow us to install works like this so much more efficiently. Also, our new gallery lighting system is bonkers. Look at that, please. Remember those fiery reflections from Cornelia Parker's work that we just looked at here? We have this glorious star-shaped projection on the floor. And then do note the colors on the wall, because when we're projecting our lights through translucent elements, the color will transfer to the wall. So it's just this complete total body experience in there, which is so exciting. Now, most of the artworks in The Sky's the Limit are suspended from the ceiling, but not all. Ursula von Ruydingsvard's monumental cedar wood sculptures often flare out over the top of your head as you're standing next to them. Here is the gallery in Sky devoted to von Ruydingsvard's works. Correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, but for 37 years, we did not have a gallery with natural light on the second floor, but now we do. And this light-filled space is giving me serious Chelsea vibes. At night, this is just another crooked Katie shot, but with my cell phone. At night, the space becomes this kind of magical environment. It feels very much like a theater set. Rena Banerjee's work is about the complex nature of migration and cultural assimilation. She makes very dramatic assemblages. As you can see, this work has seashells and sea sponges and toy soldiers, gourds, doll heads, chandelier, crystals, horns, paper, umbrellas, on and on. The work is on a pedestal. This is not, I'm going to show you where it is in our space in just a moment. It's also on a pedestal in Sky's the Limit, but you can see even here, it's just barely contained. You feel that strong outward stretch into our space. Here it is at NMWA. You've got to really be careful walking around it so that it doesn't snag you. And here we see Banerjee's sculpture in the first gallery that you enter in The Sky's the Limit, paired with bells by California artist Davina Simo. NMWA recently acquired for its collection this bell by Simo titled Hummingbird for its brilliant color. Just the metal portion of this bell is 2 feet tall. It is very substantial. And since I am a very strong proponent of the axiom that more is more, The Sky's the Limit features 7 of Simo's bells. She points out that ringing bells marks the hours in a day, so the passage of time. A ringing bell can express honor. A ringing bell can be a call to action or an alert. And in the best moments, we ring bells to convey joy and celebration. NMWA's reopening has been a lot like the ringing of a bell. It's marked the passing of time, 2 years of us being closed. The reopening has been a moment of honor and gratitude to our supporters and our friends like you. The new NMWA issues a continuing call to action to end inequity in the arts. And above all, our reopening embodies the joy and celebration of this museum's work and the work of women artists everywhere. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Katie. That was incredible. I just remember very fondly, I guess, once we moved back into the museum as staff, being able to peek my head in to see the galleries or getting some install shots from the registrars. And it's just so amazing to see everything up. I'm still learning that certain works aren't, oh gosh, the piece that looks like it's made out of felt or is made out of felt. I didn't realize that until during reopening week. And so it's just incredible. And just learning about the Butterfield is not driftwood, it's bronze. So it's still learning so many fun surprises.
You're right. The ability to get up close now and really experience things directly has been a real joy for all of us, for sure.
Great. So we are going to open the floor for some Q&A. We've already received a couple of questions for Katie specifically. One of the first ones, people want to know, or Marietta, she would like to know more about the sapphire blue wall. Can you tell us more? What's the paint color? If you could bring the slide back up so everyone can see it again.
Do that. Hold on a second. Okay, I don't want everybody to get dizzy while we, hold on. Oh, might not be able to do that. Marietta, the color is Honorable Blue, and it's by Sherwin-Williams. And you may recall, if you visited the museum right before we closed, I was running with a pink theme. I had a lot of magenta around, and I thought, well, we need to bring it back. And my colleagues talked me out of it and said, let's do something fresh for the new building. And so we settled on that blue, which again, we were sort of in temporary offices. We were sort of holding up the paint and all the different light situations that we could to try to approximate what it would be like in the galleries. It was a complete thrill as to how gorgeous it looked. It seems to glow from within. It's absolutely breathtaking in person, particularly.
Well, thank you, Katie. And then the next question, either you or Susan could answer this one. It's about the floors. Did the floor have to be reinforced to install the Niki de Saint Paul?
I'm happy to answer that one. So the floor on the third floor did not have to be reinforced, but we obviously tested the strength of the floors on all floors where artwork was being shown. Where we did add structural support is on the fourth floor for the new archival space for the library and research center. In fact, we did a number of hard hat tours, and we showed people this incredible opening in the fourth floor, looking down all the way to the third floor. And people were really frightened to walk around it as they added the steel beams. But that has resulted in flooring on the fourth floor that now can carry tons of weight, which is really valuable for the archival materials of women artists that we hold, and the compact storage we now have in that space. So that was a big moment of change, something we really had been very excited to plan for.
Thank you, Susan. And then I think this one, either of you can answer this, or chime in with some personal stories, but what you've seen, what has visitor traffic been like since opening day, and what are the top attractions, or what are you hearing that people are most excited about?
Gabby, why don't you talk about visitors? That's part of that's really your
that is my
area.
Yeah, I think what I've seen in the times that I've been down in the galleries is people are really enjoying the long gallery with the videos. I think even during all the reopening week events, that was the #1 attraction. Like, it was packed for all the openings and receptions, Saturday, Sunday. People stick around and watch all of them. And there was a really beautiful moment during the reception with the artists that Allison Soar, she came in, and our head of digital engagement, who will be presenting at the next celebration, flagged her down and like pulled her in right as her video started. So it was amazing to see that and experience that and see her excitement, but also all of the visitors' excitement. But yeah, I think the long gallery, I've noticed, has been very, very popular. What have you guys have seen, or what have you heard from folks?
It might seem self-serving, but I have heard from a lot of folks about how surprising the Sky's the Limit has been, sort of to walk in and have high drama. You can probably tell, like, I love high drama, so I wanted to deliver that for our reopening. But I think, I've talked with, the press has asked me this question a lot. I think in the past we've had visitors come in and they love the place, but they'll say to me, well, I think I thought women artists were mostly easel painters, or maybe if they made sculpture, they made sort of tabletop size things. They tend to think of women as working maybe a little more modestly. And of course, some do fabulous works. Those are part of the collection in our programming as well. But I wanted to show the flip side of that. And so I think that Sky's the Limit makes that point, sort of shows that women work in just totally fearless ways in terms of materials that they use and approaches. And so that's been very gratifying to me, that people have sort of begun to think anew about women in sculpture.
I think that's definitely true. Visitorship has been brisk, I would say. Our new visitor services department, under direction of Ashley York, has really had sort of drinking from a fire hose in terms of getting their act together and greeting visitors and making sure that all of the technology has worked. And so that's been great. I think we'll have a better sense of how many people have come to see us, but I believe raw numbers, it's over 4,500 people have been in the museum since we reopened, which is great. And we're so happy with that because it means you all really are excited to come back and spend your time. And I think one of the things that when I look at the fourth floor galleries, I miss Hung Lu. She was a great artist who had just retired a few years ago from Mills College and was planning to spend the rest of her life making art. And unfortunately, that was cut short during the time that we were, or just as we were closing. And so to have an exhibition that we had planned of her work, having had Hung visit us several times and feeling a closeness toward her, when I go into that gallery with the sort of ciel bleu, I feel like she's with us. And so that's the gallery that frankly, most days I just love feeling her in those galleries. And so it's very special to me.
We're so honored too that her family was with us on reopening weekend too, and could see the space. I just want to put a coda on what Gabby was talking about with the Long Gallery and the In Focus Artists at Work film series. And just in case you didn't catch it in my remarks, that all 8 of those films, including the Allison Starr one, which again is another like goosebump tier one, are available on NMWA's website. So if you're not able to come and experience them in person, you still can have a look at those great videos. I think they're short; they're about 3 minutes. I think that's why everyone just sort of sits down and commits to watching the whole series because they're short and just so beautiful, so poetic. I think you'll love them.
Thank you both. The next question comes from one of our charter members. She asked, when did plans for the renovation start, and was it during our founder, Mrs. Holliday's lifetime?
I'll take that one. So yes, the plans for the preservation plan for the building, actually, we received an Institute of Museum and Library Services grant in 2015. And began work on that preservation plan at that time. Mr. and Mrs. Holliday had already been concerned about the condition of the building. There were small renovations made to some spaces within the museum. And actually, about 15, 17 years ago, we redid all the heating, air conditioning, and ventilation for the second and third floors, the exhibition floors, which was great because it meant that we were able to host lots of wonderful exhibitions for the last set of years. But it really became apparent that it was time to renovate the entire building, and that was a good stewardship on our part. So Mrs. Holliday was truly involved in the decision to move this preservation plan forward. She was still active with the museum board when we committed to the plan, the architect's plan, and also when we began the capital campaign. And her legacy helped to support that campaign and obviously continues to support us now. So this was her last great visionary act, and we're so grateful that it has occurred. And the first evening when we had an opening event where Dr. Biden was speaking was actually in memoriam to her, and we were so pleased Dr. Biden could be here because together they had opened up the New York Avenue Sculpture Project in 2010. So it all felt like it came full circle.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Susan. The next one it's a little easier. NMWA had a number of works on view at other museums around DC, somewhere all the way up to Baltimore, and they want to know, are they back and on view at the museum?
They are all back home, and some of them are in this initial collection installation, and then the others are slated for change outs as we go and as we move forward and so forth. So it was a delight to share them with our colleagues at the National Gallery of Art and the Baltimore Museum of Art. They took wonderful care of them, and I think all of their visitors enjoyed seeing them, but it felt good when those trucks arrived to bring them back, to be honest. So.
Yes, there was a conversation with one of the directors about a particular painting and wanted to keep it a little longer. But we said, sorry, we need it for now. And she's proudly displayed at the top of the staircase when you come to visit her.
Great, thank you. The next question is, can you say more about the architect? Susan, would you like to take that one?
Yes, so Sandra Vicchio and Associates. Sandra is a preservation architect, and she really was the person we began with when we did the preservation plan. Sandra has began her life in the studio of Robert A.M. Sturm, who was one of the well-known white architects of the 1970s and 80s, and she was part of his practice at a later point in time. She has done work on places like Mount Vernon, Monticello, the Washington Monument in Baltimore, etc. And her expertise in preservation and being able to work in a building and understanding a building that was 100 years old and had many different kinds of materials than what we see used today was really critical to our ability to realize this project. And the fact that she was a woman architect was especially important to us, not as a keeper of the flame of architecture, so to speak, but because women have such a difficult time still in the field of architecture, representing somewhere around 17% of architects. And so the fact that we had this great preservation architect working with us who had a fabulous range of experience, and then also our construction team, many of whom were women who were engineers and also construction managers. That was also a great moment. And we did take a picture of all of them. And I think it was in the magazine maybe 2-3 times ago in our hard hats and our vests. But the fact that Sandra had those important women working with her, I think was a galvanizing moment in her career.
Great. Thank you so much, Susan. And I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. The next one I'll ask, the both of you could answer this if you'd like. What is the vision for future exhibitions? Any young upcoming artists featured in these exhibitions?
Great question. Yep, we have a really cool exhibition coming in the spring. It's the latest installment in our Women to Watch exhibition series. I think we have, gosh, Susan, is it 30 artists coming for that? And they are worldwide, global, up and coming, super exciting, on the topic of new worlds, sort of visions of the future. So that should be really cool. And then next fall, a solo show for Suchitra Matai, whose work is super cool. Please look at, kind of fits in my wheelhouse with large scale sculpture and immersive experiences. And that's going to be a lot of fun to present too. And a little bit further out, for those of you who love historical, we are working on a project about Dutch and Flemish artists of the 17th and 18th centuries, women artists working in the lowlands in Europe. So that is going to be a groundbreaking exhibition that we are going to be super excited to unveil in a couple years, just about 2, I think, more to go. We're getting closer, but that's a very exciting historical project.
Susan, anything to chime in on the future of exhibitions at NMWA? But
nothing that I would say nothing that unfortunately or unfortunately, nothing that I'm allowed to reveal quite yet. So just because we're in the middle of I'd say productive negotiations, but we'll have more to announce by the spring. So stay tuned. You're going to love it. You really are.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you both so much. And thank you everyone for your questions. I'm sorry if we weren't able to get to you, but I will have my contact information at the end of this slideshow. So you can email me directly and I can help you out. For everybody, please mark your calendars for our next slate of upcoming events. The first one is in a couple of weeks. It's New Worlds Placemakers virtual panels. This ties into the exhibition that Katie mentioned, New Worlds Women to Watch 2024. The panel will feature a few artists who are featured in the exhibition, and they'll be talking about their work and how they all sort of relate around the theme of placemakers. Then Monday, December 4th, it will be our next virtual reopening celebration. That one's going to feature our Director of Digital Engagement, Laura Hoffman, Director of Education and Interpretation, Deborah Gaston, and our Director of the Library and Research Center, Elizabeth Ajunwa, who couldn't join us today, but she will be here with us on December 4th. And I hope you can join us for that. I know someone asked about our digital offerings, and Laura Hoffman will be able to answer all of those questions next month. And then following that, we'll have our second New Worlds Gender Disruptions virtual panel. Just so you know, there will be, I believe, 5 to 6 of these panels in the lead up to the Women to Watch exhibition when it opens in April. So all of these registration links are live on our website. We can't wait to have you, and we hope to see you at the next couple of events. So thank you for showing up, celebrating with us. We hope to celebrate with you again in the near future, and hope to see you at the museum in the near future. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, feel free to email me. But again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Susan and Katie for your participation. I really appreciate it. It's been a marathon getting through all the events. So I'm so happy that the two of you were able to do this with us and share with our lovely members and donors. We thank you, members and donors, for supporting us, being with us, and showing up on a little Thursday night to celebrate the museum virtually. And I hope this was fun for all of you, and we hope to see you very, very soon. All right, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Gabby. Night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.
Have a great Thursday.
Mm.